Tesla sells more electric cars than any other company in most markets, but the competition is heating up. Other automakers are getting wise to the fact that people like electric cars and want them as their next car, and they aren't easy to make. Today we're going to detail all the competition that is coming Tesla's way, how the vehicles stack up, and when we should expect them, so let's get into it. First up, let's go through some of the general benefits of owning an electric vehicle and things to look out for. These will be common amongst every vehicle I mention. Charging is overall cheaper than gas for the most part, and if you charge at home, it's much more convenient. When charging on a road trip, that's where it can get tricky and why it's important that the vehicle you buy has options for you. Tesla has their large supercharger network with over 25,000 stations and growing, but other automakers have relied on third-party charging thus far. Soon, Tesla will be opening up their supercharger network to all vehicles, but for now it remains a large advantage for their vehicles over others. I'll detail charging options for each vehicle when that information is provided by the company. With an electric car, you'll typically have better acceleration thanks to instant torque made possible with batteries. Additionally, the vehicle will be nearly silent, zero emissions, and require less maintenance than an equivalent gas vehicle thanks to less parts. All electric vehicles will require some software, and that's a big aspect to pay attention with in all of these vehicles. Some brands will simply update the software that has been in their cars for years, while others will build it from the ground up specifically for their new electric cars, and that's usually the best way to go. Software is incredibly important for electric vehicles and something to pay attention to when shopping around. Range is arguably the most important aspect of an electric vehicle. The more range, the better, and it's important to remember that an EPA estimate is not a real-world estimate. So while Tesla says their Model 3 can get 353 miles of range, I don't know anyone who truly sees these numbers in the real world. The same is true for almost all electric vehicles, so make sure that you buy a vehicle with a buffer for your daily commute. Last is autonomy, if that's something that's important to you. Tesla's autopilot system comes standard on all of their vehicles, and it does automatic lane keeping on freeways and marked roads incredibly well. Most automakers are coming out with their own driver assistance features similar to this, so it's something to pay attention to when shopping around. Many will rule this out and say, I want to drive the car, but I would say that you shouldn't knock it until you try it. On a long road trip, autopilot is incredibly convenient to have, and it was a big sell for me when shopping for an electric car, and I'm really happy that I have it. Now, there are local, state, and federal incentives to buy an electric vehicle, and the current federal program still works for many vehicles I'll mention. Tesla and GM no longer qualify, so if you buy one of those, you'll only be able to get state and local incentives for now until the federal program changes, which it's supposed to. For example, I got $2,000 back from California and $1,000 back from my power company when I bought the Model Y. Something like the Ford Mustang Mach-E, however, can essentially knock $7,500 off its price with a federal tax credit if it helps you out on your taxes, so that's great to keep in mind when researching. To start off with, let's do a quick overview of Tesla's lineup of vehicles, since as they are now, they provide the longest EPA ranges. We'll go through them in order of price. First is the Model 3. This has been their most popular vehicle, in large part because it's the cheapest. Currently, the Model 3 starts at $39,990 for the standard range version. It gets an EPA range of 263 miles and a 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds. It's Tesla's slowest vehicle, besides the standard range Model Y available in other countries, but it still accelerates incredibly fast, as you can see. The long-range version is $49,990, gets 353 miles of range, and a 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. The performance model goes up to a 3.1 second 0 to 60. The Model Y is like the Model 3's older, larger sibling. It's a similar design but bigger, falling into the crossover SUV category with a hatchback. It costs $53,990 for the long-range version at 326 miles of range and a 4.8 second 0 to 60. The performance model is $60,990 and goes up to a 3.5 second 0 to 60. So those are their affordable vehicles for the time being, and then comes their luxury vehicles, which just got updated for 2021 and 2022. The Tesla Model S is a sedan that starts at $84,990 for the long-range version. This gets a 405-mile EPA range in a 3.1 second 0 to 60. The Plaid model is their fastest vehicle and actually the quickest production vehicle ever made. It gets a 396-mile range with the standard wheels and 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. It's incredibly impressive, but similar to range, those specs need specific circumstances to be achieved. That one isn't for the average EV buyer, coming in at $129,990. Lastly, Tesla sells the Model X SUV with its crazy falcon wing doors. It starts at $94,990, gets a 360-mile range, and a 3.8-second 0 to 60. The Plaid model of that costs $119,990 and gets the 0 to 60 up to 2.5 seconds. The vehicles to really pay attention to will be the Model 3 and Y and how those stack up against the other EV options coming out. I'll list pricing as accurate as possible, but what differs between Tesla and other brands is that Tesla doesn't do the standard dealership model. You order online or in the store and lock in that price that it's listed at. Dealerships can often change prices with certain deals or added fees, so keep that in mind. Already out and making a name for themselves are a number of compelling EVs. The main two available today are the VW ID4 and Mustang Mach-E. The Mustang Mach-E is Ford's first true all-electric vehicle, and it has been receiving great reviews so far. It's a crossover SUV with a panoramic glass roof, depending on your configuration, over 300 miles of range, and a large 15.5-inch touchscreen in the center of the dash, controlling much of your options. The Mach-E starts at $43,995 for 230 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. That's the Select model. Then the California Route 1 model starts at $50,400, gets a 305-mile range and a 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. As you can see, it says that the price is as low as $42,900, and that's subtracting that federal incentive I mentioned before. The Premium Edition starts at $47,600 for 300 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. And the GT model goes up to $69,900 for 270 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. Overall, this car has been receiving great reviews so far. Some have complained about the software, that it feels a little bit dated, but it's a great crossover SUV touting great specs and impressive range. Car and Driver's verdict was, quote, "While it doesn't drive or sound like Ford's pony car, the Mustang Mach-E is an accessible and stylish EV." For charging, the Mach-E can charge at home as expected, and for on-the-go charging, they have what they call the Ford Pass Charging Network. It is a collection of third-party chargers from Greenlots, Electrify America, EV Connect, ChargePoint, Flow, and EVgo. Lots of options there and over 16,000 and growing, but each will have their own quirks and speeds. Also, it's still not as easy or reliable as the Tesla Supercharger network. For autonomy, Ford includes what they call Ford Copilot 360. It's a similar system to Tesla Autopilot for lane keeping, and Ford says that Blue Cruise is coming soon and it will provide more features. Next is the VW ID4. The ID4 starts at $39,995 and gets a range of 260 miles. For the Pro S version, that comes in at $44,495, gets a 250-mile range and a long list of premium features like a larger display. You can choose a few different colors and whether or not you want rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Similar to the Mach-E, some early reviews have been good, but also complained a bit about the software. In the Car and Driver review, their verdict was, quote, "The ID4 is a practical electric alternative to gas-powered SUVs, but lacks the excitement you might expect from an EV." For charging, the ID4 includes 3 years of unlimited charging at Electrify America chargers. They have a decent-sized network and are planning to double their amount of chargers soon. For autonomy, VW includes IQ Drive, which has safety features as well as adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist. So those EVs are available today and will continue to prove themselves as those companies bring out new model years. For other companies, there are many EVs just releasing, coming soon, or coming in the distant future. One of those distant future EVs is coming from Honda. Honda recently announced that their new all-electric Prologue SUV will begin the next chapter of their EV direction in North America. They plan for this vehicle to be highly competitive and go on sale in 2024. It's a ways off, so if you're looking for an EV now and you're a die-hard Honda fan, you may have to look somewhere else until this comes. Once they get there, though, they plan to move quickly to transitioning to all-electric. They plan to have 100% electric auto sales in North America by 2040. Another electric vehicle concept comes from Toyota with their BZ4X. The BZ4X is an all-electric SUV that, quote, "blends modern form with undeniable presence and is sure to keep you shining bright among the city lights." Regarding their future impact with electrification, they said, quote, "It's the next step in our electrification journey, and we believe that we can progress toward a world that surpasses zero emissions, to not only reduce our environmental footprint to zero, but to go beyond and create a net positive impact. It's by working together that we can ultimately do good for our planet, our society, and our future." This comes at the same time that Toyota is heavily pushing the idea of a self-charging hybrid that charges with gas, so it's confusing where their priorities lie. In any case, this car is expected expected to be in showrooms sometime in 2022. Lexus has been testing their own electric vehicles that could come in 2022 or 2023, but details are slim. We'll get into more concepts from Mercedes, Subaru, and others in a bit, but now back to cars that you can get today. The e-tron is a fully electric SUV that starts at $65,900. It gets a range up to 218 miles and a 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds depending on your configuration. As you can see right there, this range is over 100 miles less than the Tesla Model Y, so that's important to keep in mind. They make a normal version and a Sportback version, and Car and Driver's verdict was, quote, "The e-tron SUV and coupe-like e-tron Sportback look more traditional than similar EVs, but they charge quickly and are truly luxurious." For charging, Audi says, quote, "More than 16,000 electric charging stations and 50,000 charging outlets make it easy to recharge on the go. They use third-party charging, so you'll have a similar experience to any other EV besides a Tesla at this point." For autonomy, Audi includes adaptive cruise control, turn assist, maneuver assist, and efficiency assistant. They also have that cool 360-degree parking visualization to help out in tight situations. Another EV available today is the Chevy Bolt. The 2022 Chevy Bolt EV gets 259 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. It starts as low as $31,000, and for charging, your options are at home or third-party chargers built into the My Chevy app. The Bolt EUV is an SUV version of the Bolt with a range of 247 miles and a 0 to 60 in 7 seconds, starting at $33,000. There is no autonomous driving in the standard Bolt, but the EUV has the option to upgrade to GM Super Cruise. One thing to research here before buying would be the fires Chevy has been having with older Bolts. I haven't done full research into it, but it has been a frequent enough occurrence that it definitely isn't looking great for that car. Car and Driver's verdict on the 2021 Bolt prior to this slight redesign was, quote, "The Bolt hatchback isn't exciting, but it has the range and practicality to attract and satisfy first-time EV buyers." Keep in mind that this car is from GM, so it, along with Teslas, do not qualify for the federal tax incentive. Every other EV pretty much will qualify. Hyundai has a couple of EVs available today and one coming soon. First and available today is the Kona Electric. The Kona gets up to 258 miles of range and starts at $37,390. Charging will be at home or through a third party, and Car and Driver's verdict was, quote, "It offers everything we love about the gas-powered Kona, but with an electric twist." For autonomy, adaptive cruise control is offered on the top spec model, and it does not mention true lane keeping. The Hyundai Ioniq Electric starts at $33,245 for a range of 170 miles. In my opinion, I would never buy an EV with under 200 miles of range, but Car and Driver's verdict was, quote, "Despite limited availability, sluggish acceleration, and low range, the Ioniq Electric is a surprisingly likable electric hatchback with loads of features." The real exciting EV coming from Hyundai is coming in 2022. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is a small crossover SUV with 300 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. It is estimated to start around $45,000 and comes in 3 different configurations. One big draw for the Ioniq 5 is that it can charge very quickly, from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes on a 350 kilowatt DC fast charger. It features a heads-up display along with an instrument cluster and center screen, but overall the interior looks fairly standard compared to initial concept photos of the exterior. It should be an exciting EV, and we'll get more details by the end of this year. From Kia, the Niro EV is already available, but the 2022 EV6 is coming soon. It's very similar to the Ioniq 5 with a 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, a range of 300 miles, and fast charging up to 210 miles of range in 18 minutes. Charging is through third parties, and it should have Kia's lane following assist program, if not something better when it ships. To finish up most of the EVs you can buy today, there is the Jaguar I-Pace starting at $69,900 with up to 253 miles of range, the Nissan Leaf starting at $31,670 with a range of 226 miles, the Polestar 2 starting at $59,900 with a range of 233 miles, Volvo XC Recharge starting at $53,990 with a range of 208 miles, and the Porsche Taycan starting at $82,700 with a range of 227 miles depending on the spec, and a 0 to 60 down to 2.6 seconds. I'm sure I missed some in this list, but overall those are the biggest contenders for the EV throne with enough range to actually make it as your regular car. For the distant future, there are many EV concepts, but 2 more are coming from well-established brands. Subaru is working on an EV called Solterra that is supposed to arrive in 2022. It actually shares the same platform as the Toyota bZ4X. Not much is known other than an estimate of at least 250 miles of range from car and driver. Mercedes just teased their new super efficient EV called the Eqxx. This teaser image shows the general shape of the vehicle, and Mercedes claims that it will have over a 620-mile range. That's incredibly impressive if it comes true, but so far it seems that their plans are to use this as a concept and then take technologies from it for their EQ vehicles. The EQS has been unveiled, expected for 2022, starting around $96,000 with over 300 miles of range. Additionally, Mercedes plans for the EQS SUV, a more affordable EQB SUV for 2023, and more. Also over in Germany, BMW is planning for a couple electric vehicles on their i platform. The i4 is looking pretty exciting with a normal eDrive 40 model getting around 300 miles of promised range and a 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Their performance model comes in at $65,900 for a 245-mile range and a 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Not as cheap or fast as a Model 3, but definitely holding its own for one of BMW's truly focused electric vehicles. At the same time, BMW is planning for an all-electric SUV with the iX starting at $83,200. This vehicle will bring a 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds and around 300 miles of range, along with some very clear BMW stylings. They should have more electric vehicles coming soon on their iNext platform, but I'm most excited to see what the i4 truly delivers since it has that lower price point. Nissan is well known for their Nissan Leaf, one of the earlier electric vehicles to keep selling, and now they are bringing out the Nissan Ariya soon. It has now been delayed to early 2022, but it's an all-electric crossover SUV with around 300 miles of range, starting around $40,000 for lower range models, and will qualify for the tax credit. Now, I mentioned the Audi e-tron and Porsche Taycan earlier, but those companies will also have new EVs coming out soon. Porsche has been testing their prototype of the Macan EV with an estimated range around 227 miles expected for 2023. Audi has announced their e-tron GT with incredible performance, bringing a 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds and starting around $100,000. The 2023 Cadillac Lyriq is promising over 300 miles of range with GM Super Cruise starting at $58,795. And then for trucks, GMC is working on the Hummer EV and Hummer SUV. Both of those start with a 250 plus mile range and an estimated price around $80,000. Now that we're talking about trucks, there is one more truck from a company you've heard of coming up, the Ford F-150 Lightning. The Ford F-150 Lightning is expected for 2022, targeting a range of 300 miles, and starts around $40,000 for the smaller range models. It looks to be a very compelling truck and a great option for truck buyers, especially with added storage in the front. Then there are expected EV trucks coming from Ram in 2024, Chevy in 2023 or 2024, Bollinger in 2022, and more. Overall, that's the list of the EVs coming soon or promised from major companies you've already heard of. Let me know if I missed something in the comments below, but we have just a couple more worth mentioning. First, competing with all of the electric trucks that I'm mentioning is the Tesla Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is expected for 2022, starts at $40,000 and goes up to a 250 plus mile range for that model. If you get the most expensive model at $70,000, Tesla is promising 500 plus miles of range, and we're all really hoping that that comes true because it's very impressive. You've probably heard of that one, but competing with it for the best electric truck will also be Rivian with their R1T. They are a new company, and the R1T should begin shipping in September. Their trucks start around $67,500 and get a range of 300 plus miles. Rivian also has plans for an SUV built on that same platform coming soon, and then there's Lucid Motors. The Lucid Air should be coming soon and promises some incredible specs with projected ranges up above 500 miles. It's a luxury sedan competing with the Model S and Model S Plaid and has been almost ready for release for some time now. Most are hoping for it this year and expecting next year. As you can see, the list of EVs on the horizon is getting longer every single day. It's very exciting, and it will be especially exciting when you can actually go out and buy any of these cars. Right now, most of those are just concepts and have yet to scale or deliver to any customers, but the ones I mentioned earlier on are available today. Again, the real competition will come when companies are truly competing with Tesla on range, charging network, and autonomy. Lots of compelling options are coming soon, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for electric vehicles. Did I miss the EV that you're most excited about though? Leave a comment below and let me know what I missed and which EV you're most excited about. In the meantime, you can check out the latest Tesla news by watching the video linked over here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.